And we're live. Welcome to Saturday morning roundtables, where we share about our projects and what could help them move forward. And then I say we spend the remainder of this hour envisioning a new thing to do on these Saturdays and or letting it go, because it's just the three of us that show up time and time and time again, and either something else that will bring new people in, or I don't know, something else. But who would like to start with their project?
I can start. Yeah, that's a good topic for discussion. Also, though, I could use your help. I did a user experience kind of group with a designer and someone I hired to do research for the Gully Bar project, and it became obvious that it was everyone was still kind of confused on what it was. So I've kind of taken a step back, rewrote kind of the explanation, because I realized also over the years, I had several different ideas, and they are all still kind of represented on the homepage. So I wanted to run this past you and see, if you bump on any of the language, or if it's confusing, or if it's clearer than it has been in the past. So we could do that as a thing. But yeah, right now I have a person I've hired for 10 hours a week. I have one of my coworkers helping me with user experience and design. So I'm probably spending 10 to 20 hours a week on it and making some progress. So that's good.
Cool. I guess I can go next because half of my thing is just saying ditto. A lot of similar situations there where I had been working with developers that I also found I was having a problem sort of relaying what I was trying to do and what the goal was, and getting vastly different estimates. So I've been working with a development advisor to work on a presentation to explain to some potential developers, just to make sure that we're actually on the same page, and the estimate, is for something that I've properly explained. So that presentation is basically done. I did a recording and sent it off to the advisor, who's going to watch it hopefully this weekend and give some notes, and then I'll probably re-record it and then hopefully hire a developer and start coding the platform. So hopefully in this month I'll actually have something online, very basic, but at least accounts created and some code existing somewhere.
Cool.
Yes, that leaves me. Let me think of my projects. This one, we're doing it, so it's happening. So let's check that. Game B, I haven't been involved with basically at all. I go on and post our events. Otherwise, there's no admin work involved now that Facebook has changed their. I wouldn't even know how to admin it if I did want to help with that. I'm just trying to go through what is the next one. Solution raising. I'm still looking to make it into a podcast. Still looking to possibly do them live on TikTok with other creators. But I don't want to do them to an audience of 0, and I don't want to, spend another hour coming up with a brilliant world-saving solution that doesn't move forward in any way and doesn't get fun. No. Peer coaching, I had 1 week where I did it by myself because Kylie was busy, and then 1 week where we took off so I could go to an event that didn't end up happening. And then when we came back, I redid the event in Game B, and a whole new group of people showed up, and none of the other people showed up. So it was a very strange. It was like 3 or 4 new people, but I think reposting every month or so in Game B so that I don't know what the word is, like it's a new event as opposed to having 30 events all for 1 week. And then one free app is, I am loving working with the neurodiverse people on TikTok. I literally show up for 2 hours on Thursday and shit's just getting done in the periphery. We're picking a logo design this week that I had nothing to do with picking. Like, people are making videos. Our TikTok account is past 1,000, so we can go live on there. And we just created a Discord. We were not so great at the creating it, but someone else was like, yeah, I can get that done in an hour. And that's up and running. Neurodiverse people, it's like 0 or 1 million. There's really no in between. It's just, would you like that 5 minutes ago? Now that we're on a deadline, I can do that. But if you want that in 2 weeks, it's probably not going to happen. So that is my update.
Awesome. Does anyone have anything else they need help with or anything? Or
Not that I can think of.
Did you go to Emerge? You're not in Austin, are you? You're in Texas, but not in Austin. Did you go to Emerge?
No, I didn't. I heard about it, but yeah, I mean, it's close enough that I could do an event down there, but I'd still have to get someplace to spend the night. Yeah. But actually, I don't think I could find all the details, but I don't know that I would have attended it, taken time out for it. Cool beans. Let me just kind of walk you through the new wording and see what you guys think. So there's a share button somewhere around here. Screen. All right, y'all. There we go. So the kind of problem statement at the beginning right now, I'm considering society is polarized and it's hard to get things done. And then I have some alternate wording down there. What do y'all think when you hear that?
Sorry, this is just that first statement, and then the second one is like an alternative.
Yeah, so we might say society is divided instead of polarized. If some people are doing that, or sometimes hard to agree is another kind of way of saying it. So I haven't quite settled on which kind of sentence to do. I'm probably leaning towards. I don't know. I'm actually probably leaning towards agree now, because people were asking, "Well, get what?" But
right.
I don't know.
I prefer the other way only because it's like polarized. We're divided, which does mean polarized, and it's like that is actually what's happening. Is we're becoming more polarized, right? And then we're not getting things done. Like agreement would be the first step. Kind of, it's like we have to come to agreement before we can get shit done, and we're never going to come to agreement because we're polarized. Whereas if we can not come to agreement but get shit done, we can actually get shit done. Did that make any sense?
Yeah, and I think that's true. Sometimes people's brains, like getting things done is the bigger picture, and sometimes people's brains, when they're learning about a new concept, they don't want to go that far, so you lose them. So sometimes just stepping back to agree make it a little bit easier. Plus, it's a shorter sentence, but I like to hear that it resonates with you to get things done. So, Adro, did you get what was kind of like your emotional response to that? Was it like meh, or like I agree with that, or?
I mean, my instinct is always to prefer like things, get things done over agree. But I kind of agree with the idea of you kind of have to agree first. So it's, I think it's fine to have that be first, and then divided versus polarized. I think technically polarized is a better word, but I also think that it's more complex, and I always err on the side of simpler words. So.
That's so one of the reasons maybe for divided. It's just a little bit less. $5.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a $4 word instead of a $5 word.
Right, exactly. But yeah, I mean, I think any combination technically works. The agree versus get things done.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, I think we talked about that. So
yeah, but even just those, not with those like differences and stuff. Does the sentence sound like, oh, that's a problem I would like to see someone work on, or does it mean like, well, okay, does it make you more interested to figure out what the rest of the thing would be?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just if I didn't know what Gullibutt was and what you were working on, when I hear that, the first question is, yeah, but how?
Yeah, right.
It's exactly that. Like, okay, perfect. That leads into
and you know how it is. You're never gonna. Everyone's gonna doubt that it's even possible.
Yeah, of course.
So this is an experiment to build agreement, or help build agreement to make it just a little bit simpler, or help people do more together, which is more of the get things done bit. I don't know. What do y'all think about that one?
Because I understand build agreement, like we want to get closer to agreement, but at the same time, to me, it's a fairly binary stance. We either agree or we don't. So it feels like a weird. And I was going to say that I didn't realize that we had more sentences to go through. But with the polarized, is like polarized feels binary.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, you could make it less polarized. Like you could get the minus a little less, more plus, and the plus a little more minus. Whereas divided isn't binary. It's like camps. You could, you know what I mean? You're not necessarily pro or anti. You could be another category. And polarized is what we are, because it's like if you're on one side, you assume the other side is all of the things you hate and all of the things. So like the polarized. And with that being said, that this is an experiment to help people do more together, because it's like to actually do shit, to actually get something done. I like build agreement, but it does something to my brain where I'm like what does that mean?
Yeah,
cool.
I think it's also hard to picture what building an agreement actually looks like now, because I think if I were to hear that, not knowing that this were like a side agnostic tool, that it's like, oh, this tool is going to help you agree with me.
Yeah, although I don't mind. People tend to think they're right, so I don't mind if they come off with that.
I
That's
guess
going to be their assumption coming into the system, regardless, right?
right. Yeah, true. But I guess the challenge is if they think that it's built around the other side being right, then they're like, well, why am I here then?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yep. Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I'm not taking really good notes of what you're saying. I'm gonna have to watch the video over again and take more copious notes. But probably be better for the flow if I don't, anyways.
It's the beauty of thinking.
Yeah. So, but that still sounds. Is this sentence still kind of in the but how, and still sounds interesting, or does experiment make it sound too useless? Or
I mean, I think experiment is honest. Like, it's with all this stuff. I think, to me, this kind of comes down to game A versus game B, right? Game A, definitive, convincing language that may or may not be complete bullshit, as opposed to experiment where you're like, it is an experiment. No one solved this yet. So anything anybody's doing is an experiment. I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I can't think of a better word there. Like, it is an experiment. -2 is, if you think 100% it's going to work, it's probably not going to work. Like,
Yeah.
if you're that convinced, but whereas if you're like, hey, this seems promising, a lot of other people agree, let's go down this road and see what happens.
Yeah. So the next one is starting to answer the how, the but how, and we say by building something slightly better than a fact check.
Right.
I don't know if I want to leave that slightly in there or not.
I kind of like it because that to me is paired with the experiment phrase. We're like, hey, we're trying one step forward. It's not to say we're going to stop there. If this works, of course, we're going to keep building on it. But if we can actually build something that did better than the alternative, full steam ahead.
And maybe, I don't know, Adriel, you probably don't bump on fact check because that's part of one of the things that you want to do as well. But maybe, Jubilee, does that fact checks? Yeah, I don't know if you bump on that word still, and you may not because you work with me and Adriel so much, but some people are bumping on that. And that's why I said, instead of saying a better fact check, it's better than a, because it's improved. But I don't know how's that sentence.
Do you think that word is
people
tainted?
Either don't know like they think a fact check is like a news source. You did it. Look, Facebook fact checked it and we're good. So they're not looking for an improvement. And people who can see what we see, that it's clearly biased and a step in the wrong direction, don't want a slightly better one, right? I think like a better word might be incrementally is not a great word, but like something that's like a protopia, right? Like a word that means not like it's going to keep getting better. We're going to offer slightly better and keep improving it. Although I don't know if that's the vision for Gullybot, but I imagine if it's AI.
Yeah, I mean it's there that I will think more about that. That's an interesting suggestion. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it was funny. One person's feedback was, yeah, well, they're better. Yeah, because they were convinced that the current fact checks are crap. So if earlier when I was saying a better fact check, it wasn't a different kind of thing. So they liked the fact that this is kind of saying that it's different but similar. Yeah, let's see. What else? Okay, yeah. So so the next thing is like, don't trust our fact check, or because some people are asking, why should you trust our fact check? It's probably the question they're thinking in their head. Oh, why should you trust our fact check? You shouldn't. Or just the shorter one, don't trust our fact check. That's not really a question. That's not. I don't really. That's kind of the next thing, and then I have some. Well, yeah, you shouldn't. But here's why you should check it out, and then I kind of go through and list some of the things that are better about it. So if y'all have any feedback on that way of phrasing of saying, okay, like we said, how, and now we're getting into the specifics of why is it slightly better than a fact check. I don't imagine y'all would have much to say about that, but
no, I
was going to say is the obvious that it's dynamic, right? So like, of course you shouldn't trust it, and it's going to improve. So if you trusted it before and then it changes, you're going to distrust it now? Like, it's like, this is science, you effing idiots. Of course you shouldn't trust it.
Yeah. Right.
It's going to change and confuse you. Welcome to the game.
Yep. So just in this, I haven't worked on much, but some of the things, and so y'all can just tell me if any of these like really jump out as like bad or something's missing, or I don't know, any impressions you have. But some things we're talking about, they'll be broader because a lot of times the fact checks are like, this person said this, and they just used the wrong word because they woke up bad that morning, and they're like, it's fact check false. And it's kind of like, no, this is a phrase that people commonly say, and here's the best way that people say it. So it'll be bigger statements. It'll go deeper rather than just a paragraph of why. And then I already said that one, the strongest. The feedback thing is hard because I really don't have the resources to handle tons and tons of feedback. But the concept, like Jubilee, like you said, is that there is a feedback loop at least. So the way I'm tempering it right now is I just say we try to incorporate feedback subject to resource constraints. So it's not like I don't know if there's much more to say about that.
So when you say feedback, is that talking about like it's not just that one person behind a curtain that makes the call? Like it's the actual outcome is there's feedback. Like if the current analysis is wrong, I can submit things to the topic and get anything, or do you mean the project?
Yeah.
The tool itself.
No. Yeah. Feedback. That's a good point. Feedback on the fact check, which it really isn't a fact check, but anyway. Okay. But yeah.
I got you.
Right. That's a good point. Yeah, it's on the individual items, but one of the challenges with saying that is it's not like you can just go in and type in something. What we do is, and this is the part that I have to explain later, but I want to set up the right tone going at the beginning, is that there'll be a link that you click on that and it'll take you to Twitter as one of the main ways. There's other ways. And then you tweet your response, and then a human goes in, looks at your response and considers and puts it in. So it's not an immediate thing. It's not a direct, you can't edit and make changes. It's still, there's a barrier there. And some people are balking at that, which is understandable, but I just don't have the time to take all this input and keep a quality system.
Right. Yeah. And it's still early days. So I mean, step one, prove just the core concept works, and then you can figure out how to scale it.
Yeah. Yeah. And the, it's still better than the current fact checks because people.
So is no fact check.
Yeah.
It's a low bar right now.
Yeah, because they don't seem to take I mean, I have seen them make a few changes, but there's other people that criticize their fact checks and they don't address that criticism. So hopefully that would be one of the things we're going to try and do more. So that's kind of a big piece. And then the other section is just that it's more transparent, quicker to understand, easier to see if we address all your concerns, more transparent score. And so these may be something that I'll want to describe in one sentence or keep them all in the 4 different sentences. These might be something that, starts out as one sentence and does that.
Is there an element of, and is it important for you to, like, in that there's no editorial bias, or is that still there, at least to start with, because there's people involved?
Yeah, so that's a good point. We could say, I don't know how to say it, but
yeah, I mean, saying no editorial bias is not
yeah,
the
I mean,
greatest wording.
Can't say none, but
right, yeah, okay, like reduce bias.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing I might add in there, and we could talk about what the things we do to try and reduce the bias, which part of that is getting the feedback.
Right.
So these things do kind of go together.
Right, it's sort of being that two-way conversation on, here's what we know today. If there's any information we haven't considered, please submit it. As opposed to like the Facebook fact check, which isn't actually a fact check. It's just an outsourced company that gets to say whatever they want with zero repercussions.
Right.
Yeah, like, can you remind me what the score, like, what it actually looks like?
Well, that's under a lot of, that's what we're working on. Right now, it kind of looks like these. So right now it's kind of a number or a bucket. So we're trying to figure out how to display it, but in the end, it will be kind of like a percentage confidence in that thing, either that we should do it or that it's true or stuff like that. And these are all the different
on per fact basis, and then they're kind of amalgamated into the like more subject based one with all the points, right? Did I even ask that properly?
We're gonna, so the score will be on a very specific claim, and then it's pros and cons and all of the evidence and reasons for and against it are beneath it, and each of those sub items have scores as well. That's why it's a tree. I don't have a better one. Kind of like that. It's a tree of all the pros and cons. But yeah, there will be like topic areas and stuff like that where you can see all the stuff about education, but that won't be amalgamated together. And we're not going to be right now. I've pulled back from doing anything decision related, like should we, should we change this law or pass this law or something like that, just because balancing all those pros and cons are a little bit more challenging than the system can handle right now. So right now we're just like taking an individual fact and seeing if we can reason about it and get some shared facts together. And then we'll tackle shared decisions. Did that answer your question? I'm not sure I got it right.
Yeah, no, I was looking for that. I just couldn't remember what the actual, what it was going to look like.
Yeah.
I can't remember the word now.
Yeah. We're going to completely redesign it. It's one of the points of this exercise. We just realized we didn't know what the heck we were doing. Yeah, so any of these, anything else there like seem missing, or do any of these, do you bump on and have concerns about? Or
I do wonder if built into it, because I think that's core and a lot of people not trusting what's out there now, is that it's not profit motivated.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because I know for me, and I think for both the other people on this call, that's an instant, like as soon as we know it's profit motivated, we're like, oh, I don't trust anything you're saying. Or at least they'll take it with a lot more skepticism.
Those are some good ideas. Cool. Anything else before I move on?
No, I've got nothing.
Yeah, that's good.
I don't know. I haven't thought too much about this, but like the benefits and uses at some point, people are gonna ask, "What do we do with it?" So it'd be something you can share with people to like get them off your back. Uh, just like if you want to throw someone something. If you're in the middle of a debate with someone and they just want to have a verbal debate, being able to go someplace and find all the stuff that you would want to know about it, your side of the arguments would probably be useful. How not to argue, because you say go convince Scully, which we're not going to call this Scully anymore, but or may not. And then I will pay attention when Gullybot updates the site. And then I guess just as a, I had this written elsewhere, but not here, but just as a place to get an overview of the debate. I don't know. Do those sound compelling, useful?
Yeah, I think one element that I know I like of mine, and I'm pretty sure yours does the same thing, is that it makes a silver tongue less important. If I can try to like find a general way to say it, right? Like just because you're a smooth talker doesn't mean you're going to be able to argue BS and get away with it, which is unfortunately 99% of our information ecosystem. And so it sort of is like the more fact oriented instead of just being able to get away with it, which I think is A, our news, and B, a lot of the current debate is centered around like, can you say it live and make it sound good and snappy to the other person, which has zero relevance if it's true or not.
Yeah, that's a good point. I wonder if that may also fit better into the why it's better than a. Although I guess they don't do that in fact checks usually, but it's why it's better than other resources.
Yeah, well, I think the single-sided fact checks are kind of that, where it's part of the silver tongue is if you're on, a single news source, you're trying to make it sound like it's the end all be all and fully containing all the truth you're ever going to need, even though you're almost certainly going to be getting some, editorial bias and things being chopped off. They don't need to know that.
Yeah, maybe another way of saying is it's not sensationalized.
Yeah, that general vibe. I'm not sure how to word it, but that.
Yeah, I'll workshop some more.
Cool.
Sure, as opposed to like a agree to disagree, right? We're just gonna have to agree to disagree. It's like as soon as we start the argument, it's like let's pull in Gully. It's like instead of disagreeing with each other, let's see who can convince Gully. Let's see who can. And the silver tongue doesn't matter because you just need the facts.
And I think importantly for modern discourse is let's see what's already known about this topic, so we don't reinvent the wheel with two people that don't really know the topic that well, which is the vast majority of arguments these days.
Yeah, I kind of like emphasizing that. Yeah, cool. And then the last little bit, I don't know. I was working on some possible slogans, but I don't think I got very far on this one at all. So it may not even be worth. Like initially, it was like fact check plus, but I think that's too close to a fact check.
Yeah.
So slightly better than a fact check.
One, I like slightly better than a fact check, at least just temporarily, right? Well, it is
right.
Well, that's the goal, right? I think that's the goal of your alpha or beta or prototype or whatever you're doing is, can we make something slightly better than a fact check? Oh, we did? Awesome. Now where do we go with it? And then you probably have a new, slogan a year after that.
Yeah.
But that I think is, personally to me, that's the perfect statement and the perfect vibe. For like, saying experiment, saying it slightly better, not trying to do the game over the top, make it sound like it's, everything in the moon, and then you're like, oh no, it's just a notepad.
Yeah, I kind of like the co-creating better information, but I think that's overselling it, especially since there's not a direct interaction model.
Right. Yeah. I think that's probably your long-term one. Sounds like it, the more. But while you're doing the like, as long as there's people involved as like a gate, I think the slightly better than a fact check makes sense.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of leaning towards slightly better than a fact check. It's also a bit humble.
Yeah, it's a bit humble and also a bit cheeky at the same time. You're like, are they being humble or is that
right? Right.
Yeah, I do like the co-create better information, but you're right, it's not quite there. And plus, I think you've put so much thought into this that this is like just your baby that people can come on and help, not actually co-create. It's like, I already did the thoughts. You can't come in and bring it back to the drawing board.
Yeah, it's a bit. The train has kind of left the station a little bit, but yeah. So I don't know. Do y'all feel like after reading at least like this little bit and stuff that you get like it's a nugget that you understand what it's trying to do, or does it still feel kind of like vague and I don't know what Bentley's up to?
It's a lot more clear, I think. Like and I think part of it is I'd be interested to see this again, trying to like really solidify it, right? Not have all the sliders and stuff, and just here's the like 1 minute pitch or 2 minute pitch with all this like here's the 3 lines, here's the all this truncated. I do think it'll be a lot clearer to understand, right? Where you can have like a 2 or 3 minute recording of you going over this and send it to whoever you need to as like here's Gillybot in 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah.
You need to know at a high level. Yeah, I think that's definitely on the right track.
Yeah, I need to make these decisions and then workshop these into something clearer and then decide on a slogan and then put it together in some sort of presentation.
I think so, yeah.
Cool.
I know that's what I was going through with mine, but mine's a bit different. I'm trying to explain this to people who are way more technical than I am, so I had to go through iterations of not technical enough, too technical. I don't know what I'm talking about in that area.
The only other thing that we could go over, but we probably won't, but just kind of let you know, for my team, I'm gonna. Oh, that didn't work at all, did it? I have to walk through how the scoring works because they're gonna have to understand that. So that'll be kind of interesting to go through, and I'll be recording that. Just figure out how to explain it. First off, explain it to them like 3 or 4 times. But cool, yeah. I'll stop sharing. I really appreciate y'all taking the time to give me some feedback. It's valuable.
Yeah, no problem. I always like seeing like the culmination of, we've been hearing about this for years, sort of start to see it like, here's a nice boiled down, like exactly what it does. It's cool to see that. And also, I think promising that Julie understand it well enough to be like, oh, I can actually answer some of these questions because I've heard about it for so long.
Yeah. Any other business, or do we want to? Oh, well, we should probably talk about kind of future wise. Do we want to keep doing
I had like a great idea right after our last one, and then I didn't like record. And I was like, was it a good one, or was I just stoned? I don't know. I think it was basically the co-opetition ones, like having. How do we like actually like pick a theme for the month and invite people and be like, this is the thing we're talking about. So if you have if you're have a project in this area, come for this month and almost do, the co-opetitions. But I want to say, 1, does that resonate? 2, let's make it way better because that was basically not an elevator pitch at all. Like what would make us want to keep coming is the most important thing. I still like seeing you guys, of course, on Saturday, at least once a month. But I also want more people. I want their projects here. I want to, I don't want Together Tech to be the like firstborn child that gets forgotten and like, whatever. We're on to the new baby.
I do like the idea of there sort of being the more like co-opetition, and like I wouldn't mind having more regular meetings with Bentley because our projects are so similar, but then also different enough that like it. I mean, like we both said this, it feels good that there's 2 different projects that like we're handling it a similar project in a fairly different way while also sharing a lot of like the same general kind of idea or structure. So I wouldn't mind like a regular meeting that just dove deep on that topic. Because like one of the things that this pushes me to do is the whole like, oh, the meeting is in a week and I haven't done as much as I what I like to have done. I'm gonna go do that. And it's the same reason why I got a development advisor on Upwork, because it kind of pushes me to do that, which I wouldn't mind keeping going forward, even if it's just like me and Bentley, and then if other people come on board who have similar projects, that same regular occurrence to sort of share ideas and push. And a lot of the things that Bentley is thinking about, I'm like, oh, I have an idea to solve it. I'm not sure if it's the solution. And I imagine that if I went deep, Bentley will have a bunch of ideas for things that he solved.
Yeah, I think we could do that as just a technical deep dive, and Jubilee could listen, and if she has the energy, or just ignore us, or show up for the first 5 minutes and chat. Yeah, I don't think, I'm happy if other people bring in their projects and do that stuff, and I'm happy to help out. I don't have the energy to encourage that. I think if one of us actually wants that, then yeah, I think they'd have to find someone to kind of go, and I think that's a good way to do it. I might even suggest rather throw out some meeting ideas in Facebook and in the Game Be Home, and see what people kind of bring up, and then host those. So I'd be happy to participate in those. Right now, I wouldn't be that person to kind of wrangle people. Yeah, so I'm okay. It just being us.
Fair enough. I'm kind of both sides. I'm like, if we keep showing up and hearing about that's good too. And I also don't have the energy necessarily go out and like recruit or anything, but having, I don't know, I almost want to have like an online conference that I have to put zero work into, where people just show up and give an elevator. Like we can hear people's project, right? It's not together tech and we have to necessarily solve it. Just like, hey, put together a crappy, like I even want just like slightly better than fact check, like a crappy elevator pitch. Like I want the gist of your project. I don't want you to be able to get a grant with this, right? Like you don't need to put in anyway, and then finding people with similar projects and just they can match themselves up together. And that would be something that would probably be more of like months out, right? Like in September after the summer on, I don't know about the first weekend, but having something of like, hey, and it would be something that would be put out to Game B projects and say, are you interested? Would you bring one? I just don't know how much we would want to do, i.e. pick a time, pick a date, and are you available? Do you want to do it now? Or put the idea out there and be like, does a team want to get together and do literally all of it? Because I'm not doing any of it. Like, pick a time, pick a date. I will show up and give my horrible elevator pitch for my projects. That kind of thing.
It might be worth, I wonder if it'd be worth making a post, just one post in both things, and seeing if it gets any traction. That's a pretty good idea. But yeah, I think someone would have to step up. I mean, it's not a huge organization. We could, if we just, a couple of months announced, hey, we're going to have an open pitch session to practice pitch session, bring your 5-minute pitch, and let us know if you'll be there. And just posted it every time we have the next couple meetings where we're just doing our own individual stuff. Then, and because I mean, there are people joining the Game B thing, the projects group, every several days or something. We're getting one or two people joining that group.
Do you mean Facebook or Mighty Networks?
Mighty Networks. I'm getting an email 2 or 3 a week, I think. I mean, I think they're just like going through and looking at all the things and joining the ones that look interesting. So there might be enough people there that just aren't, like we didn't have time to post this there and stuff. So, yeah, it might be worth a try. I don't know if I have the energy to make that post, but
me neither. I don't know, but we'll see if there's one. We all have permission to post something about
right.
Something.
That's a good point.
And hey, we'll see what happens in the next month. Otherwise, we'll see each other, on the first Saturday of August, and that will probably be this exact same. And then we'll see if there's.
I mean, by our next meeting, I should have a concept page of what the new GoalieBot kind of scoring thing will look like, or I'll have a new kind of like homepage with kind of what we discussed laid out in a single thing. So I will have something to show. Adriel, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I've always got stuff to show. I haven't.
Yeah.
No shortage.
So I think next meeting will still be interesting.
All right. Awesome. Then I look forward to that. Do we have anything else to discuss today? I realize we're only 40 minutes. Should we cut it now then?
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
All right.
Bye, YouTube and Facebook.